What does it take to create a vibrant, thriving life? First, the sad news is that Thoreau was right. Most people are leading quiet lives of desperation, lacking in meaning, fulfillment, and vitality. But we choose more. We choose to create extraordinary lives. And the Art of Vibrant Living show entertains you with inspiration, empowerment, and education to create your life into a masterpiece. It's time. Let's vibe up. Aloha, y'all. I am Daniel Aaron, your host. Welcome to the Art of Vibrant Living show. Juicy show today is, and I promise you this, if you pay attention and if you take some of what our guest brings to you today, it will change your life for the better forever. And that's what we're here for. We're not here just to entertain you. That's cool. Well, hopefully it'll be super fun. We're here to empower you, to make your life amazing, phenomenal, great. Let's say, we're done with the cult of mediocrity. No more meh. Life is meant for you to thrive. So, if that sounds good, awesome. If that sounds fantastic, even better. Today's guest, Jason Jones, has spent his lifetime mastering the art of communication. From hosting a #1 rated radio morning show to assisting nonprofits and making record-breaking contributions, he has used his ability to emotionally connect with people to inspire action. For the past 9 years, he has researched the science behind this communication that inspires people to take action. From this, he's developed adaptive conversations for conscious selling, a system that people can learn to navigate conversations with power and confidence. And this causes sales to happen with ease and elevates leadership. He's applied the research to coaching clients, which has allowed them to produce outlier results. And that's what we are here for, outlier results. Jason, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure. I love the theme of your show. I love your mission. I'm just giddy and happy to be a part of this, a part of vibrant living, about like living beyond as long as I'm not in pain, I'm okay. But like, I want the juice of life. This is what I like.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Yes.
So, and I love that the particular focus you bring to that. It's such a core part of a great life is communication. It underlines so much of what we do, and whether we do it well and what the results we get are, right? So how did this get to be your thing? How did you get into this?
Well, how I got into this. So I've been into this like my whole life. And that's because what I love doing more than anything else is conversations. I love talking with people. I love entertaining that way. That's why I loved radio. I loved call-in talk radio because we would interact and be funny. When I was in college, I remember I used to stand outside with all the smokers and make them all laugh, and all just spontaneously in conversation. I just love conversation. I love it so much. Yeah. And I'm also an entrepreneur. Like I have been in my own business and I've been self-employed for more years than I have been employed by someone else now. And I just kind of realized that just not that long ago. I was like, wow, that's true. And part of that motivation was that I want to be able to do my own thing. I want to be able to find my own problems to solve. I want to serve the world in my own way. I don't want to do it for somebody else in a job and a role and climb up and try to get another title or try to make more money in different ways like that. I really want to do it in my own way and live by my own intention. And the problem I ran into over the many years that I've been doing it is selling is hard. Like you feel like you got something really good and you're excited and you're telling people about it and they're like, nah. I'm like, man, what do you mean, man? This is amazing. I don't understand. Like, what do I need to do? Be more excited? And there was so many of the what do I need to do things, Daniel, that that I would try, and I listen to this motivational speaker or read this sales book or do this kind of stuff, but nothing. I was always just like pushing and selling. Um, and then it wasn't until later, inside of some personal development work, that I learned about this thing called the enrollment conversation. And the enrollment conversation is basically a conversation you have with someone that you're sharing moves, touches, and inspires them such that they want you to have it, or they want to have it, or they want to be a part of it, but they're moved in some way, which ultimately gets down to this. Like all communication, if it's actually real, if it actually makes a difference, it's going to make an impact, it's emotional. And so we need to tune into how are we like actually navigating and connecting to that. And so that's when like all of my focus started really getting put on the conversation itself. Because when I got into coaching, I noticed that my clients were great at, they would be good at getting meetings, they would be good at getting some opportunities to share, but then they would fall apart in the sales meeting. And I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, oh, I don't want to be this way, and I don't want to be pushed. And it was like all their sales trauma was in that meeting of them not wanting to be all the bad experiences that they've had. And we've all had those. And I'm thinking, well, this doesn't work. But then I thought, if there's any one way, like if I'm going to narrow down into a space that I have the most embodied experience in, that I can make an impact for people to live by their own intention, to earn what they want to earn, to have their own business, do their own way, whether self-employed or build a business, it's through teaching them how to enroll others in their ideas in doing that. And that's how adaptive conversations got created, for that very thing. And that's how it affects leadership, because leadership is it's not about telling people what to do and forcing things. It's about inviting them in. So it's like, I want to be a part of this, Daniel. I want to be on your ship. I want to, get into your program. I want to be around that. That's where real success happens for us. That's where we start saying things like, oh, I don't sell, Daniel. I just talk, and then people want to buy. Well, exactly. Because those folks have found a way in which they talk about their proposition that is that kind of inviting thing. So hopefully that wasn't too long of a story, but that's really what got me here, is so that I could help create this for other people, because this is what's really important to me. And I think it's really key to having a vibrant life and freedom.
Absolutely. I love what you shared there. And I know it's relevant for a lot of people in the worlds I inhabit, right? In our audience, in the people I work with, a lot of my friends and colleagues, right? Because so many of us are people who are 100% oriented toward doing good in the world, right?
Yeah.
We're in this stuff because we want to make a positive difference. We've had transformations, right? So I'm going to ask you more about adaptive conversation and how you got into some of the aspects of what you're doing on a deeper level. First, though, let's speak to the elephant in the room. It's maybe not in our room, though it's in some people's rooms. I know it, you know it, right? And that is that, of course, so many people still have all these negative associations about sales and what it is, right? And unless we address the elephant, the people are going to be listening with mufflers over their ears or something, right? So, what do you say? I'm sure this is something that you've thought about and you share about, and it's got to be one of the things you help your clients with. Is no, it's not actually that so many people associate with it. And you spoke to that some right now, but what else would you say about that elephant, if you would?
Sure. Well, let's create a distinction. So there's a real clear distinction between what I call traditional sales, which like hasn't changed a lot. There's the traditional sales training. They're bringing in the neuroscience. They're bringing in like those kinds of things. But fundamentally, what hasn't changed is what I call problem-oriented selling. And the problem with problem-oriented selling is it doesn't go actually far enough to actually get to a place where your buyer is feeling confident in the solution. It assumes that the buyer knows what they want, has figured out what they want, and now you just need to convince them you're the best one to do that. And that is, it's a myth. It's not even true. It's not even actually the way that it is. What I have found is that most buyers in all the various industries and businesses that I've worked with, most buyers have a vague idea of what they want. They have a vague sense, right? And their reason they're talking to me and you and other people is they're trying to talk to us to see if they can get closer to identifying the solution that they want. And so if we take the approach where it's like, hey, Daniel, do you have this problem? And you're like, yeah, I've got this problem. This is something I'm dealing with. And I'm like, great. Well, let me tell you how I fix that, and make the assumption that just because you have the problem, that's the one that you have most priority that you want to solve or do something about, that you actually do want to act and do something about that problem, or that you're really clear that that is the problem that needs to be addressed in the first place. I'm assuming all of those things when I dive into my really excited pitch, and people put all kinds of time and effort into their value proposition and how they line it up and get their speech just right. But what's missing is that you don't know what you're speaking into. You don't know what's going on over there with the other person. So the adaptive approach instead starts off with, okay, the problem, good. We're clear that there's a problem, there's a challenge, there's something. And I'm using problem because like I work with consultants, right? It's good in fractionals, and they're coming in where the buyer wants to solve or change or improve something, right? And so then they're coming into dialogue to kind of be part of that. And so then you can identify the problem. Like, let's say it's retention. We're having a hard time keeping our talent, or we're having a difficult time of really attracting good talent and then keeping them. Like, it's just really kind of mysterious for us, right? And so then instead of going, great, I've got a program that is amazing at attracting talent, let me tell you all about it, right? We're not doing that. And it'd be like, okay, well, tell me more, like kind of what's going on. And you set up strategic questions to actually explore what is going on inside. Because if I'm an HR person, let's say, then I'm going to be able to see things from what you describe that you, the owner or the leader, are not going to be aware of. And so then I can put things together from the conversation and help you see. And the salesperson that helps the other person see what they can see is the one that's going to have credibility. It's one that's going to have value. And it's one that's going to be that's going to set up that buyer to feel confident that this is the right problem to address. This is the right person to do it with. And this is the right time to do it, is what's going to emerge from this kind of process and doing it in this way. It's like this. We make the assumption that in that person's imagination, in their lens, is everything that they need to recognize the value of what we have. And that's a myth. That's not true. That's not ever true, right? We hold that, and it's up to us to sort it out with them and help them see. And that process actually has them think slowly, process the whole thing. So they're not just giving you quick assessments and judgments based on what they heard, or, oh, I've heard that before, or what else you got, or things like that we've heard before. You're engaging them, and you're engaging them on multiple levels, on an emotional level, on an intellectual level, and actually processing it through it, so that wherever you arrive together in terms of a collaborated, like, well, this looks like the best solution, should we move forward with this? It's their idea. They formulated it with you in the room. And I've been doing this approach with my clients. I've been doing this approach in my own business, and it is amazing. Two things that's amazing about this. The one thing is the feedback, because I mostly work with non-sales professionals, is they all tell me, I don't feel like I'm selling. I'm like, exactly. Because you're really not selling in the sense like the problem, the selling to the problem kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You're selling to the motivation. You're going, let me see what you're motivated to do and what really matters to you, and see if that lines up and makes sense with what I know and what I can see. And then let's bring that together and make a decision together, versus the identify, pitch, get excited, and hope kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which that lives in. And then also doing that the first one that I talked about, like the people come up with a close rate. I have to talk to 10 people before I get a close. Well, doing it that way, you're talking to 10 people who already agreed with you when you walked into the room. Like that's your 10th person. Like, yes, I love everything you're saying, because they were already there. But that's not the majority of people we're going to talk to. The majority of our growth and opportunity are those that aren't sure. They're starting out. They're trying to figure it out. And those of us who are the best at helping them figure that out are going to be the ones that are going to close the deals and bring them in.
Beautiful. I'm with you. And, and I love what you said, upgrading from the what's the problem? Oh, here's the solution. Let me tell you, right? Upgrading from that to a mutual exploration, to discovering together what's really going on and what do you really care about and what do you really need. Like that is more caring, right? That's a loving way of being. It's saying, like, I got time for you to explore this and find out, am I a good fit to work with you? Right? It's so much more caring that way.
Oh yeah, it does amazing things, Daniel. It dignifies confusion. Right? So it's like, of course, this doesn't make sense to you. In fact, when I start a sales meeting, I'll say, we're going to do exploratory questions. So that means I don't necessarily expect you to know the answer to these.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And they're like, oh, relief. Right. So if they're like, I don't know, I hadn't thought of that. I'm like, oh, that's all right. Well, let's just look and think about it now. And then they can be relaxed and we can do that. So it dignifies confusion. It also has the person who you're selling to feel heard and feel understood and feel like how they currently see it, like, really matters. And it respects their own, like, research and deduction versus like, well, I'm the expert here. You called in the communication guy. Let me tell you how this is done, kind of thing, right? Where they're like, oh, well, let me just default to you, oh, expert one. Because people don't do that either, especially when we're coming into sales, no matter how big a stages we've been on, like, and all of that. Like, it doesn't matter when you're sitting across from someone one-to-one. If you're not helping them understand something and get clear, then you're just like any other person who's pitching.
Yeah.
So it does create that more intimate experience and connection by its mere nature.
I love it. Yeah. And you made a great distinction earlier. I'll rephrase it a little bit and see if it still lands for you. I think of what we're talking about as the distinction between transactional sales, as in, this is about me making money. Right? I remember years ago studying negotiation, and I read this line, or I heard this line from a teacher I was working with, that he overheard someone say about him, master negotiator, this guy's so good at negotiation, he'll take the shirt off your back. And so he heard that. He was hanging out in the audience. And then when he went up on stage, he said, that's not good negotiation. Good negotiation, and I think this is very true in sales too, is when both parties walk away feeling like they got the better deal.
Yes.
Like they won because of it.
Yes, absolutely. That is the best negotiation. It's not about, win-lose negotiating is a losing proposition in today's lightning fast. Your reputation can go and die like really fast. There's so many places people can review, people can give you poor feedback. Like, you can get ruined in a hurry, it helps protect consumers. Like, that's kind of a thing that's built in, that isn't like that. We don't have to rely on politics or regulatory stuff. That's just kind of part of the ecosystem now. Right. And nobody can afford to burn leads. Like, it's just like, it's way too costly. Right. And so absolutely is getting to that win, because if we're both winning, that means that there was a genuine need there, and we were able to fulfill that need, maybe some other opportunity that wasn't even thought of, or uncovered some other needs that weren't thought of in that moment, and put something together really good. So then the person who got the sale gets to do the work and gets paid for it. And the person who's buying is like, oh, thank goodness, I finally found the right solution. Because, I've spent lots of money on lots of stuff that I've tried that I wish I could get my money back for, that I can't, because they didn't fulfill on the promise, or I was just sold to get me to buy it, but it really wasn't aligned. It really wasn't the best match. And that's just not good for anyone in their business. That's the other thing about adaptive conversations, is using this method drives your conversations toward alignment. So the deals that you are closing are more and more and more aligned with your sweet spot and what you're amazing at, which generates better feedback, better results, better reviews, all that, and then attracting more of the same kind of client that you can keep continuing having the same success with. So it works in that way, and that's an organic, that just happens on its own.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and so I'll take it a tiny bit further from what you said. So transactional, right? That's where it's about the money. It's where leads get burned and people have regrets, as opposed to transformational, which is where we grow and learn from each other and we evolve into something more because of it. So my question for you now, Jason, is what was your big awakening, right? What was the big awakening moment where everything changed for you?
I think that the big moment happened to me when I was doing a personal development program on a weekend, and this I'll say what it was. It was a landmark education a weekend, and my chiropractor encouraged me to do it for an entire year, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get to that. Oh, that would be a good idea. That would be it. I put it off, and I did it, and I had this experience like, wow, for the first time, I felt like I had the levers to my own behaviors. Like I like, how do I break these bad behaviors that I have and that I don't want to be? There's a certain way I want to be in the world, but I can't seem to stop my old self from being these other ways. And I was frustrated and resigned, and I've read all kinds of self-help books, and I've like, inspirational stuff and everything, right? And so I was like, wow, this really, really works. And it was when I learned about this idea of this enrollment conversation where you're enrolling someone that so they're moved, touched, and inspired. And I thought to myself, now that's sales. That's how I can invite people into working with me and my production company to create things. That's how I can invite people to book my show into their bars when I was touring Jason's Comedy Night, and the different businesses that I did. This is how I can enroll them into what's possible so they're lit up and they're inspired. So then I was like, how do I take that and turn this into something that's applicable to all these businesses? Now that was in 2007. Well, now we're in 2025 and I've got it. Like I've got it worked out. I mean, it's still, we're refining always, but we have the fundamental of it and we're able to transfer it, because that's the other challenge. Like just talking about this is like, oh, fine and good. That sounds good, but no one has the conditioning for it. So if you just went out and tried to do it, it wouldn't come to you natural. You wouldn't be like, oh, am I doing this right? It would be difficult, right? And so now we've got it simplified enough so that it can be easily picked up and practiced.
I love it. Yes, and when you were speaking earlier, I did very clearly hear the language of landmark education, and I'll bounce back with you on that for a second. I first did the Landmark Forum 2001.
Oh, okay.
And it was a whole kooky experience I had, which is a story for another time. And it ended up that I wasn't there for the last night.
Oh, wow.
And having heard from a whole bunch of people about what happens on the last night, here's the judgment I heard from so many people. And then I'll tell you how I learned to overcome my own stupidity, in this case anyway. And the judgment I heard from so many people is, well, Landmark's great, but all this like pushy sales and they're trying to get people to sell and all this stuff. And I heard that then and I was like, oh yeah, I don't like that. I'm not gonna throw out the baby with the bathwater, but I don't like that. Well, fast forward 10, 12 years later, I've been running my own personal and spiritual development groups for years, studying leadership for years. And I go back and do the forum again because I'm going to have my daughter go through the teen program. And I heard it from a whole different lens, right? And part of what I heard was the leader speaking about enrollment as a function of leadership. Yes. And immediately I heard Abraham Lincoln, right? And I heard George Washington. and and all the greatest leaders, Martin Luther King Jr., who are able to inspire beautiful action in the world. That's what enrollment is.
Yes. Yes, no, that's brilliant. That is right on. And that, I mean, that's something that we emphasize here in terms of like, when are you not leading the conversation?
How do you
And the
mean?
answer is never. You're always leading it. Now, it's distinct from controlling. You're not controlling a conversation, but always leading the conversation. And by leading, I mean you're engaged and you're moving and listening with the perception. So let's say, so it's obvious, like in a sales conversation, you lead it by like, you bring the agenda. Whoever has the agenda is the leader of the meeting. You always bring an agenda. This is what we're going to do, even if it's a verbal one. Okay, so during this hour together, Daniel, we're going to do this and this, and it's going to be like that. Is that okay with you? Great. Okay, I'm in charge. And then we do that, and you stay in that. When you're having conversation with like friends and you're at a group, like say you're at a group of friends and you're out having cocktails together, right? Like, was that a place that you would lead conversations? Absolutely. What does leading look like there? It looks like you're sharing, different friends are saying different things, and then suddenly like you say something like really interesting or different in the conversation that's kind of having like your like, and as I'm listening, let me personalize this a little bit so I'm not mixing up my metaphors too much. So like I'm in a group of friends and we're talking about things, and then somebody mentions something that sounds like a little piece of a real interesting story that kind of got passed by, and I'm like, whoa, wait. I go, Daniel, what was that? What was that talk? What were you talking about? That you said something about that one time. Oh yeah, this one time. And then that comes out and everybody's like, oh wow, that's fascinating, interesting. And you're like, oh, and then somebody is going to say something and you're paying attention to everyone's participation and involvement, Or if somebody's like, oh, I don't know, I wouldn't buy that crap. You might be like, oh, well, okay, wait a minute. So why wouldn't you buy into that? You're the curious one that is keeping it engaged and juiced and moving and happening and being interested, and people are being heard and acknowledged. That's what leading looks like.
I love that. I have a reputation amongst my friends for dinner parties, because I will, if I sense that the conversation maybe is, in my judgment, floundering or could go deeper or more interesting, I will just pull out a question and toss it out and invite everybody to respond to it. And
Oh, that's brilliant.
And people love it, right? And it's still, even now, I'm like, oh, is it going to be okay if I ask this question? I don't want to dominate. And every time I do, I ask the question, it brings out different pieces of people and different interactions. So I love that you bridge that from business and sales to just what it means to guide or lead conversations in life. That's beautiful.
Yeah, well, we do that. I love that you're doing that. Like I do that. I'm teaching my kids how to do dinner party, because dinner parties are really important for bonding and connecting. If you want to bond and connect with people, have them share a meal together. And so we share a meal and then we get question cards out. And so then we take turns picking a question and asking it and then answering it for each other and then asking each other about those responses, which teaches them how to have a conversation and be curious and pull things out of what people say and things like that. And also how you just enjoy people in that space. The Swedes have a thing, they call it hygge. Hygge, have you heard of that? Hygge or hygge? I'm not sure on the specific pronunciation of it, but it's there's a game, and it's essentially like questions that they will like, let's pull out, let's have some hygge, and then they'll pull out these questions, and they will do, actually as an active activity, they will have cozy conversations with various exploratory questions just for fun. And I just love
that. Years ago, I had a deck of cards, and I haven't been able to find it again. It's called hypotheticals.
Oh, right? Fun.
And it was a whole set of questions. Like they're just so beyond hypothetical. They're like so weird that would be like, whoa, I don't know, and it would spark stuff. So, but let me go a level deeper with you and make this even more useful for some people in our audience, right? Because you're clearly a master of communication, right? You've studied persuasion and influence, and you know how to move people emotionally. How do you balance that with your own integrity in the midst of those skills?
Say more about that. Like, where would that be? Could you tell me where that would be out of integrity?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. A friend of mine who used to work for me was very skilled at communication, NLP, neurolinguistic programming. He had studied sales a lot, done very well with it in a semi-transactional way. He changed his life around. He started working with me, and we were doing these personal development events. And he had a thing in him. He's like, I'm scared to use my skills because I'm afraid I'm going to influence people in an inappropriate way, right? And I bring this up because I believe that one of the stumbling blocks for a lot of people where they could be more positively influential, do better in their business, and create more good in the world is because inside them is some kind of fear, like, well, I don't want to manipulate people and I don't want to twist them, right? So does it make more sense what I'm asking now?
Yeah, it does. So the way that I look at that is the dark and the light always travel together. You know,
Mm,
you don't have the yin without the yang. It always comes together, right? So what I teach in adaptive conversations, you can use to manipulate the heck out of somebody if you
right.
chose to do that, like the Force in Star Wars. Both
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader use the Force to the degree to which they can align it with it and use it, right? The Force is like neutral. This is neutral, right? So this is where just a person's own individual integrity comes in. You
Right.
know, like I'm a coach, and if I'm talking to somebody and they're like excited about what I want, they want to sign up, and tell me they're going to give me their last $5,000 that they have, I say that's a bad idea. I'm a good coach, but I'm not a miracle worker, and you need to eat. So maybe you need to like figure out some other ways to make money right now, get yourself stabilized, get some credit set aside, to kind of figure out a plan to afford this. But you got to take care of your basic needs first, because this is not going to, even if they wanted to buy, it's like this isn't going to be the magic thing that is
Mm,
going to be. It's going to help. We're going to move you, but you got to be able to take care of yourself and invest at the same time, right? So to me, that's the integrity of like knowing that, and also knowing my limitations. I, and everybody has to really sort out these ethics for themselves, but I
mm,
know the limitations of what I can do and what I can do with people. Like if I coach with someone, I only can move at the rate of them. And I
mm,
tell people that we're going to be moving at the pace of you. The rate at which you can get this, pick it up, run with it. We're going to be working at your level. It may take you longer. It may go faster for you. We don't know. We'll find out as we go. But this is not about anyone else or the program. We could talk about what's typical, but we're going to be going at the rate of you, and dealing with what arises for you, because everybody has their own stuff that shows up in and around the way. And the other thing is that in using this adaptive conversations, it's not about convincing you
mm.
to do something. It's about creating the conditions for confidence in the solution. It's about creating awareness. So collaboratively, you come to recognize like, this is what needs to be addressed. And by addressing this, we can anticipate this result to be able to get this kind of outcome so that you can do that, which looks pretty clear. Okay, do we want to do this? And when you arrive, you're arriving at a level of clarity that comes with that and with the process, that isn't with other things. So it's not techniquing anybody. It's like
Yeah.
real authentic conversation, like being real about everything, but real in the context of the other person,
Mm.
not just real in the like, well, I'm such an amazing salesperson, Daniel, that just doing this interview, you could find yourself wanting to work with me really bad, but I'll let you know. You know what I mean? Like it's none of that nonsense kind of thing. Because it's
Yeah.
coming to a place of let's find alignment. I'm in service. I'm in the service of your greatest good. when I come in and bringing that in. And if a person brings that intention in and everybody wants to work with them, well, it must be because everybody wants, they're doing great. Everybody wants to work with them. There's nothing to be shy or afraid of about that.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I love that you bring that level of authenticity and humanize it. And I can feel many shoulders in our audience just go, I can just
Right?
be myself. Um, and I love what you said about convincing, because I think that's another one of the myths out there. One of my favorite expressions is anything that must be proven is already doubtful. Right.
Yes.
So if I ever find myself trying to convince anybody, whether it's a client or a prospect or my daughter or a friend, like hopefully I catch it really quick and go, whoa, I'm off track here. No, I'm not here to convince anybody of anything.
Right.
So time is flying along for us, Jason.
Yeah, this is fun.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that would be good for you that you would like to bring forward?
I do have a recent aha moment that happened to me that I'm finding just even in my own experience of doing business development and sales and work in my own kind of sales process with how I talk to people and then how long. And what I've really had this discovery is the value of slowing down so that people can think. And the value of asking permission all the way along the way. Like I don't move to anything unless the other person says they want to go there. Like for example, like maybe we're on a networking call and you and I are talking and you're talking about how your sales go and I'm asking you questions about that and I'm creating and in the questions what we're really getting clear on is like the areas that really need attention that are really getting and preventing you from having the success you want. And at the end of the meeting I say, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of these challenges. I have a lot of experience solving that. Would you like to explore this further and see what coaching together could do? And it's a very simple, straightforward. It's not like, oh my gosh, she's selling me. It's like, oh, do I want to explore this further? Yeah, I think I would. Okay. Right. It's a very non-consequential thing. Right. And then it's like, okay, great. Well, let's set that up. And then we have that meeting. And then we have that meeting and we go through this whole process, a whole hour where we explore everything and move through every aspect of the conversation slowly, deliberately, comfortably. So they never feel rushed. They never feel pushed. They never feel any of that because we're thoroughly exploring everything and getting really clear. Is this the right solution? Okay, then is this the right time? Then is this the right price? Then is this the right thing? Then should we move forward? So that by the time that we get to the end, it's like, the confidence is so high, I can send them an invoice. I don't have to take their credit card on the spot for fear they're going to go, oh, I changed my mind, right? That's somebody that's been moved along too fast if they have that kind of doubt. It's like we take the time it takes. And here's the other thing that I've really noticed about this is that, have you ever had where, let's say you did a sales conversation with somebody and you got through everything, but you rushed the offer a little bit. And you gave them it was kind of giving the pricing, it got just real informational, but you didn't really process it at the end and stuff. And then you're like, okay, well, we'll pick up and talk about this in a couple of days. And then, and it was a good match, that they had good energy there and all of that. But then over the course of the few days between the time you met, they go, yeah, I'm not going to do this, Daniel. I just doesn't feel right. I'm just not going to invest and that sort of thing. Like the whole energy just like kind of fell off and got dropped there. That's called what they call entropy, right? So they're going into a spiral of doubt, right? Period between that time and the next time of deciding, like, I want to think about this and ruminate on this a while. They're going into this entropy space where they're going like, well, I don't know, that is a lot of money and this and that. And then they're just basically talking themselves out of something that you were just developing enough courage to actually take a leap of faith and do, because working with a coach is a leap of faith. It always is, And so that's negative. That works against us. Here's where it doesn't work against us. This is where it works for us, right? If you're like, okay, so let's say you do the conversation, and most of your hour is like really getting clear on what you're going to solve and work on together, and there really isn't time to get into the offer or how you're going to do it. You say, you know what, there really isn't time to like get into how we're going to do this together. We're running out of time, but we got really clear on this and this. Let's schedule a time and then talk about what the next steps would look like and how that would be. So let's do that in a couple of days. Sound good? Sounds good. Great. And that gets scheduled. Now you have positive anticipation of that. Like where they're like, okay, this is good. This feels good. They're hanging on like where you did arrive, what you did get clear on, and they're positively anticipating learning more about how they're going to be able to fulfill on this. That actually works in your favor in doing that, which then reinforces the slow everything down, because we're in a world where everything comes at us like this all the time. And when you do that, you're being enormous service to another person.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay, man, we could just keep going forever.
Oh, we could for hours and hours. There's so much to say about this.
It's beautiful. I love it. Well, and we'll have a part 2 at some point if you're up for it. So I understand. I heard from a little birdie that there are ways that people can work with you even before they have the wisdom to invest in working with you, that you offer something that's like a free coaching. Is that right?
Yeah. I have a weekly free group session where we talk about everything business development. I call it Business Development Mondays for fractionals. I focus on folks that are doing complex B2B sales. That's where this adaptive conversation just works the best. It just makes the biggest difference, where it's like, there's multiple solutions, multiple problems. Which ones are we going to use? Which ones are we going to line up? These are the most difficult sales to do in general. And this is my sweet spot. This is where I'm at. So I generally work in that. However, if you're in a service-based business where you're selling a future result for something, not necessarily tangible or a service of a sort, then everything in this session is going to be applicable and valuable to you. And you can drop in on any Monday. You can find it on LinkedIn because it's attached to the Coaching Hour page that's on LinkedIn. It'd be the easiest way to find it. Or you can send me an email and I'll send you the link too. There it is. Just like that.
Email to Jason would be jason@thecoachinghour.com. And that's hour as in an hour long, HOUR. Jason@thecoachinghour.com. That's fantastic. Obviously, Jason's website is the same name, thecoachinghour.com. And so what I hear from you in that, Jason, too, is if somebody in our audience doesn't know what a fractional is, and B2B sounds like it's Airbnb, they would still be in the right place if they want to get better at communication and sales that serves people. Is that true?
Yes. If you're selling a service, I just did a workshop today for people that were selling event services. I was talking to somebody that does concierge barber services, that does all the grooms and gets them all looking pretty and feeling really good. But they were having a hard time with their sales because they would be like, well, this is what I do. And they're like, well, I could just go get a haircut at my usual place. Like, why is this any different? And so we said, well, let's actually educate their imagination a little bit, because what's missing for them is they have no imagination for it. So we're like, okay. So we thought of questions like, well, how do you want your bride to feel when she sees you walk out already? Well, I want her to think, that I'm the guy, I'm the stuff, right? And so now it's like they're starting to get in their imagination of how, like, oh my gosh, just going to the venue and getting all fixed up and ready to walk out is like sounding more and more appealing, because it's now getting in their imagination of what's possible. And that's the only thing missing. Not that they don't like it or they don't worth it or they're not high enough clients and that sort of thing, right? So if you're in a service, if you're selling something that someone has to imagine the result later on, this is perfect.
I love it. Beautiful. Okay, cool. Well, that brings us to the big question, the final question. It's so big that it's impossible to get it right. There is no right. However, that also means you can't get it wrong. So anything that comes is beautiful. And the question is this, yes, big pressure, no pressure. The question is you've got so much experience and study, and you've been working with this stuff for such a long time. It's beautiful. And if you had to distill it, bring it all down to one thing for our audience, what's the one thing you would share that would help people to live their most vibrant, thriving life?
I would say to practice listening for what really matters to the person that's sharing with you. And if you practice that, it will, never mind business and sales and opportunity. Like if you just practice that in life, you will discover a richness that you never, ever knew existed.
That's beautiful. What an amazing response to that question. Yeah, listen for what really matters to the other person. Beautiful. Well, Jason, thank you so much for all the work and study and development you've had that brings you to this level of expertise and being able to explain complex things for us in a way that makes it clear and usable. So, and thanks for being here and having this time with us.
Oh, Daniel, thanks for having me on. This is like the best 45 minutes I've spent all week. So this was a blast. Thank you a ton. I appreciate getting the airtime and getting the privilege of being on your show. It's a pretty cool show.
You're very kind and you're very welcome. And for y'all in the audience, thank you, because it's for you that we are here, and you matter. You are amazing. You creating your life into the most beautiful masterpiece imaginable. That's the best thing ever. Not just for you, it's for our world. Thank you for being here. I love you. See you later. Aloha. Mahalo for tuning in to the Art of Vibrant Living show, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, and may you live with great vibrancy.